The earth seemed quiet. Civilizations grew, empires rose and fell. Humanity believed it stood alone, but the truth was buried far deeper than anyone dared to look. The war was no longer fought in the skies. It was fought in minds, in choices, in fear, in forgetting. The ancient empire had perfected its method. No more direct destruction, no more visible invasion. They controlled, they influenced leaders, they fed conflict, they transformed fear into law. Because a frightened species is an easily governed one. But they were not alone. In silence, the awakened Lemurians began to remember. Fragments, symbols, recurring dreams, the feeling that the world is not what it appears to be. Some began to see the energy around them. Others discovered they could subtly influence reality. Piece by piece, memory returned. The Eternians were the first to fully organize. Hidden among humanity, they became an invisible system of protection. They did not attack, but they balanced. Wherever chaos emerged, they emerged too. And then a sign appeared. In different corners of the world, people began drawing the same symbol, without knowing why. A symbol formed of two united pyramids, a perfectly balanced shape, an echo of a forgotten structure. It was the beginning of the return. In Mesopotamia, Marduk felt everything. Each fragment within him began to reactivate. Every human who awakened strengthened his consciousness. He was no longer merely an isolated entity. He was becoming a network. But the empire noticed, and for the first time, it responded directly. They sent the observers, beings without stable form, capable of entering the human mind, to erase, to rewrite, to destroy from within. People began to feel anxiety without reason, thoughts that were not their own, constant fear. It was not coincidence, it was an attack. But this time, they were no longer unprotected. The awakened Lemurians began to resist. The Eternians began to intervene. And somewhere, deep within the system, Marduk made his first real move. Not through force, through truth. He transmitted an impulse, a wave, not visible, not easily detected, but enough to activate something within humanity. The question, what if everything I know is not true? And that was more dangerous than any weapon, because the empire could not fully control doubt. From that moment, the war changed. It was no longer about destruction. It was about awakening. But there was a risk not even Marduk could ignore. The more humans awakened, the more unstable the system became. And if the system collapsed too quickly, Earth would not have been liberated. It would have been destroyed. For the first time, Marduk found himself caught between two impossible choices: destroy the empire and risk the planet, or maintain the balance and prolong the suffering. Silence returned, but not for long, because in the shadows, something far older than the empire had begun to move. Not Lemurian, not Eternian, something else, something that had never been contained, and which had just noticed that the system was beginning to fracture.